welcome to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode number 54. The title of this episode is Next Move on the Economic Collapse. And we're going to go through the current news today, and I'm just going to discuss what's next and what they're planning to do in regards of robbing us of our money. I was just thinking of a scenario from everything that I've been reading, and I just wanted to go and discuss this and maybe get feedback from you, from comments and things like that. But let's look at the economic collapse news right now and see what's going on. So South Carolina is creating a bill that would make it a crime to implement Obamacare. They're saying that Obamacare is completely unconstitutional, and that would be null and void in South Carolina. Personally, I think every single state should do this because it's ridiculous. They're forcing you to purchase health insurance or get taxed. And I hear some of the people saying, well, it'll be cheaper if I just got taxed than if I purchased the health insurance. So how is this giving everyone health insurance? And the other thing is, companies are going to reduce hours so they don't have to give health insurance. So the whole thing is a ridiculous scam and a ridiculous, unconstitutional law that he came out with that nobody read. And you know it's bad because Congress is even asking to be exempt from this. It is so bad that no one even read it. And when someone ever tells you to, oh no, after you approve of this, then you can read it, you know it's really bad. I mean, think about it. If you're going to buy a car or a house and they tell you, listen, you can read these 1,000 pages after you buy that house. You can read these 1,000 pages after you buy this car. No, you read it beforehand. I don't understand our leaders today. They're just signing off on things they don't read? I mean, really? So moving on. The Arizona governor vetoes bill making gold and silver legal tender. So, I mean, she's stating that, it would be a loss of revenue to the state while giving businesses that buy and sell collectible coins or currency originally authorized by Congress an unfair tax advantage. So is she looking as this as really as for her career and for political reasons, or is she vetoing this for the people? It doesn't seem like it's for the people and maintaining the state. She's in the mindset of collecting taxes and revenue and keeping the government employed, but she's not looking at the whole entire end game. I mean, she goes on to say, while I believe the concern over a devalued dollar as a result of an unsustainable federal deficit is justified, I am unable to support the legislation. So she knows what's going on. She just doesn't want to do anything about it because it might hurt her career, it might hurt the tax revenue, it might hurt her voting, it might hurt, and she's not looking at the big picture right here. And the payroll numbers just came out today. And, and everyone's, cheering and clapping. Unemployment went down. It's from 7.6 to 7.5. And, 165,000, people, they expected 140. And, looking at this and just looking at headlines, it looks fantastic. But we have to remember, they changed the unemployment calculation. And as they keep changing the calculations and massaging the data, making it look better, it's showing a false picture in so many ways. So I went to shadowstats.com, and he uses the same unemployment calculation that was used back like in the 70s. And he has on his page on shadowstat.com, the official U3, which is the government, and they're saying it's down to 7.5. and you're looking at the graph line, and you're seeing that it's decreasing. And you look at the broadest, the U6, and we're up around 14%, and it looks like it's coming down. But then you look at the shadow stats where he's using the original calculation for unemployment, where you're not excluding those people that aren't looking anymore because there's no hope of finding a job, or those people who are underemployed, or maybe they used to have one job, now they have two jobs just to try to break even in what they were making before. His graph line is going up, and it's approaching 24%. So this is a very big difference in the calculation. And there are other things that are going on here with the job numbers. Now, Carl Denninger came out, and he was discussing the unemployment numbers, and he realized that the amount of hours that people are working has gone down, and it's down to 34.4 hours. And he's saying, as we keep reducing the hours, it's like losing 700. It's like removing 700,000 people, because if you take it across the country and you reduce everyone's hours, and I believe it's decreased by 0.1 hour, you're really saying that there's less people working right now. And he goes on to say that it's not going to stop there. When Obamacare hits, people are going to reduce everyone's hours so they don't have to supply them with health insurance. So if you were working 40 hours or 35 hours or 37 hours, whatever you're working, and the magic number is 26 hours, those are a lot of hours lost, people making less money, so employers do not have to give health insurance to these people. So that's going to be less of a tax revenue, less people going out spending on retail, and this is going to cause a major, major problem. And think about all those people who are trying now, let's think about this. Those people who have reduced hours are making less money, still have to go out and buy health insurance or get taxed now. So if they're going to get taxed or buy health insurance, they're not going to go out and spend it on retail. They're going to use that money and spend it in another way. So the entire economy is going to completely shift, and our money is going to be spent on something totally different now, and we're going to see a dramatic change in the spending of the middle class and lower class people, and that's going to really affect the economy. So, and if we look further, they talk about these job numbers, and everyone's applauding, and the market's going up, and the Dow went over 15,000, and S&P went over 1,600, and everyone's going, this is fantastic and great. But when we look at the job numbers, like we're in April, where are all the jobs? Like what jobs? So if you break it down, 43% are leisure and hospitality. Professional business services, temp help, is 42%. Temp help services is 31%. Education and retail trade is 29%. I'm sorry, these are not percentages. These are in the thousands. That's 43,000, 42,000 for professional services and temp help. Temp help services is 31,000. Retail trade is 29,000. Education and health is 28,000. Financial activities is 9,000. Transportation is 4,000. So if you're looking at this, construction is negative 3,000. Mining and logging is, construction is negative 6,000. Mining and logging is negative 3,000. And if you look, government is negative 11,000. So you look at these numbers, you say, well, where are the jobs? What great jobs are these? These are hospitality, temp, retail. these are not the high-paying jobs. These aren't the professional jobs that people used to have. So where are all the great jobs that they're talking about? And then I was thinking to myself, what did the unemployment look like right before 2008, and what did the graph look like, prior to that, where they were saying everything was great, nothing to worry about. He was telling us that everything's contained before 2008. And even if we go back before 2001, what happened? So from 1992, it looks like we almost hit 8% unemployment, and it came down all the way up until 2001, down to 4%, and then it went back up to 6.1%. And then the Fed slowly brought the unemployment down to about 4.3% in 2008. And then when the 2009 crash happened, it shot up to 10%, and then they changed the calculation. And now the unemployment continually is sliding down, going from 10 to 8 to 7.5 where we are. And if you look at this graph, you can definitely see a pattern of unemployment, how it comes down, crash, it goes back up. It comes down, crash, it went way up. It's coming down now, and then we're going to see a crash, and it's going to go way, way, way up. And if they didn't change this calculation, this unemployment figure would still be going up. So this crash is going to be 100 times worse because of what they done and how they changed this. I also put the document from the government on my page to show you the calculation and the exact unemployment numbers. So let's move on now. There's war going on. There's a civil war going on in Iraq, and we went to war in Iraq because of weapons of mass destruction. We toppled the government that was there. We put in a new government, and now we have a civil war, which is going to be much worse than Syria. So basically, I guess the people don't like the central bank that we set up and the new government that we set up. I guess they're not in agreement with that, and that's why the civil war is kicking off there. Okay. Now, there was a story about a hacker that breached a database with sensitive info on dams. And it looks like it broke into the U.S. Army Corps of Engineer National Inventory of Dams. And in this database, I guess it contained information on around 79,000 different dams. And they got all the information from there, hacking into the system. So you could see our infrastructure across the country is not set up to handle any type of cyber attack, and they're continually showing us that nothing is safe, and we are totally vulnerable. And it's funny how there's just one story after another that continually comes out, and they are just preparing us, brainwashing us, letting us know that something is going to happen. And I discussed how bad this cyber attack is going to be in my other episodes. And if you want to hear some of that, you can go and listen to the other episodes that I did. Okay, let's move on here. Gun control. Now, Joe Biden is planning a fresh gun control push. He's talking up a background. It's the same stuff, background checks. And he's talking a lot about what they're going to be doing and Plan B, and he hasn't discussed it yet with President Obama, but they're going to be moving on this. And again, what they're doing is they're setting up the next event to take the guns away from the people. Everything is just staying quiet right now. They're moving on with the Boston bombing, where that whole thing that whole story just completely fell apart. And every day I look on CNN, USA Today, and I just see them coming out with new propaganda like, oh, the attack was supposed to happen on July 4th, and then before that they told us they really meant to do it in Times Square in New York and not in Boston, and but they finished the bombs early, so they just said, oh, let's do it in Boston. I mean, they're just coming up with one ridiculous story after another, but this leads me into believing that we have some events coming up, and they're just letting you know, just letting it seep out that things might happen. That's what I'm getting from this. But moving on, with staying with gun control here. Now, Democrats want people on the no-fly list to lose gun rights without due process. Now, this no-fly list is a secret list, and they can put anyone on there. This list is meaningless. It's like me having a list of the government officials they're not allowed to govern anymore. It's a secret list. There's 12-year-old kids on there. There's grandmothers on there. No one knows how you get on this list. Nobody knows how you get off the list. You don't even know if you're on it. This list is meaningless. This list, I mean, put it this way. They're looking for terrorists, and they have over 1 million people on this list. I mean, it just sounds ridiculous. Why don't we just put everybody on the list? Just get it over with. Everyone's on the list. There you go. The list is meaningless. There are no rules to it. It tells them nothing because these people haven't done it. What is the 12-year-old or a 90-year-old grandmother going to do? It's absolutely ridiculous. With no police records, with no group ties, with nothing, but these people are on the list. Now, we talk about America's rights and how they're trying to chip away at the Constitution and get rid of the people's rights. Well, Japan is doing the same thing, where they're trying to destroy the civil rights and set the stage for a dictatorship. And, you know, this is happening in all different countries because they realize what is happening. They realize that the economic collapse is on the horizon, and they need to keep everything and control everything. And the only way to do that is to take away the people's rights and govern them by government dictatorship. That's the only way to keep control in their minds, is to keep everyone in order and tell them what to do. And those people who get out of order, they send them away and send them off. Now, moving on, I was thinking about the stock market, the bail-ins, the pensions, and everything that they had planned. Now, hear me out on this. Jim Rogers, Peter Schiff believe that the United States is going to be coming after the people's pensions. Okay. Now, in Cyprus, we saw the bail-ins. We saw the unsecured, the uninsured monies of the people. That money was taken from them and replaced with stocks. Jim Rogers is saying the next act is for pensions. And we saw in President Obama's budget that, you know, he was going after IRAs, where if you had too much money in the IRA, that it would anything above that amount, I think it was $3 million, would be put into a special governmental retirement where you put money in there and it would be replaced by treasury bonds. But the Fed is printing money and giving money to the banks to invest in the stock market. Now, the stock market, we see the Dow at 15,000 and the S&P at 1,600. Now, as they keep doing this, what else is happening? I mean, what else do we know? We know from the market going up, everyone's pensions, because most of the pensions are invested in the stock. I know mine is, and it's going up, is going up dramatically. And the investments are doing very well because, you know, they keep the Fed is funding this and the market keeps rising. What if They're doing this on purpose, making... Now think about what Jim Rogers said. They're coming after our pensions. If the market was down and they just let it fall to nothing, what would be in those pension accounts? Nothing. Since the market is rising to these highs that we've never ever seen before, all pension plans are moving to highs that they have never seen before. So I'm thinking about this, that this is being done for a purpose, not just the pump and dump in the market, but the pump up, take the money from the pensions because of what they're doing. So they're pumping the stock market up to build the pensions, and they are going to take all that profit from the pensions to bail out the government and the banks and whatever they need the money for. And we can see this happening because even though they have the FDIC Bank in England document, and they did the test in Cyprus, and other countries are also doing the same bail-in type of documents, we can see that it would be much easier, and I do agree with Jim Rogers on this, if they went after the pensions first. Because people's pensions, first of all, they really can't access it yet. Second of all, people would be like, the sleeping people of America would be like, okay, they replaced it with, treasury bonds or stocks from the bank, or whatever they replace it with. But it seems like they are pumping the market up to pump the pensions up, so there's money in the accounts for them to take. Once they take the pensions, they see how the people react, they can move in and swoop down to the bail-in of the bank. Because I'm going to tell you right now, the percentage that they're going to take from the pensions will probably be not enough to support what they want to do. And that's when, and this, you can see this throughout history, they start with something, just like, taxing the rich, and they say that's all we're going to do, and over time they say, oh, the taxing the rich didn't work, now we have to take it from the rest of the people. Well, we're just going to do this the one time on your pension accounts, and that's all we need. A couple months later, that wasn't enough. We couldn't really, the amount of funds there wasn't enough, so now we have to move in and do the bail-ins. So it looks like this is where they're headed, and it looks like this is what they're trying to do. For those people, please comment on what I'm saying. If you have a different point of view, let me know. And everyone have a great day, and be well, be safe, and especially be prepared.